Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman, and tonight we're going to work on Kamal. Kamal is the tool we're going to work on. It's written here in the to-do note, and I can't speak apparently. So let's get down to it. So last time we worked on Kamal, we were going through the process of building a Docker image and getting everything ready to deploy. If you weren't joining us last stream, this Kamal is a tool that comes from the same folks who make 37 signals. They make Basecamp. The creator of Kamal is, or at least one of the people behind it, is the same person that makes Ruby on Rails, and that's David Hennemeyer Hansen. And we're going to follow our journey here with this little demo app that I was building, with the goal this evening of getting Kamal to deploy a demo Django application all the way out to a DigitalOcean Droplet. Man, I'm really struggling with my words here. I promise I will try and speak more clearly. Okay, so where did we end last time? Last time we were having some trouble, just like me getting this stream going this evening. We were having some trouble with, here it is, an example of what was happening. We were trying to do a Kamal build push is the command, and we're running this with the Dockerized version. So there was two ways that you could run Kamal that were really evident in the documentation. One was to set up an alias, which was actually an alias for a Docker command that would run a Docker image that had the Kamal tool built into it. And that way existed so that you didn't have to set up Ruby or anything like that. And in the process of running this demo, we tried to use that approach. So we got Docker installed, and we gave it a shot, and we were hitting some problem here. And this is where I ended the stream last time, because I couldn't get by this. I couldn't figure out how to make the authentication work. It kept saying you're not authorized. All right, so the next day I got at it and figured out what it was. The short version is that the Docker version doesn't do that. In order to take advantage of the credentials and being logged in with Docker, you had to use the Ruby version. So I've reported an issue on that. There's a thread here. So I did my diligence as a, that's not the right one, sorry. This one. Tried to be a good open source citizen and report everything I found. And it was kind of a known thing. It wasn't really documented in their docs, but at least it was a comprehensible answer for why it didn't work. So what I did in the meantime, at least on my other machine, is get this installed via Ruby. So we got to pull that along, or did I do it here? That's a good question. Let's see. Can't remember if I did it here. No, I think I must have done it on my other laptop. So let's get that going here. So the biggest difference that we're going to do is we're going to use ASDF. I used ASDF a couple streams ago when we were playing with Go, as a way to get the Go language onto this machine, or a recent version of Go, and not be tied to a package manager, in this case Brew. So ASDF is kind of this generic package manager tool, and if we look at this tools version file, which I did commit and push up, you can see that there's a Ruby installed in there. So what we're going to do, I already have ASDF configured, so I should be able to say, for instance, like which Go, and it's going to look for this in this shims area for Go stuff. But if I said which Ruby, it's not going to do that right now, I think. It's still pointed at the homebrew Ruby. So we're going to install this version from ASDF. So we can do, I think we might have to actually, before we get too far into it, install the Ruby plugin. So let's try doing this first. And it's probably going to say, no, you can't do that. Whoops, especially if I don't type it right. So it says Ruby plugin is not installed. So if we do ASDF help or something along those lines, we need to go get the plugin. So this is plugin add, and I think we can just do ASDF plugin add Ruby. Should do the work. I gotta type that combo right though. ASDF plugin add Ruby. So where we're going with this is we want to get Ruby installed and then available. So this is going to take a bit. It's going to go download Ruby from an actual, some kind of archive, probably a tarball, and then try and compile it. Hopefully, I think this machine should have GCC installed or some kind of Clang compiler, or some compiler should be available that we should be able to compile this latest version of Ruby. Once that is available, we can then do a gem install of our tool here. And at that point, I think we'll have everything that's needed to actually have Kamal available to us on the path. Maybe there'll be some fiddling with what we can see on our path or not. I can't remember that part. Yeah. So there might be some stuff we have to do, but let's give this a go. Unfortunately, that means we're going to be stuck watching Ruby compile from source. That took a little while on my other machine, but my other machine is also 10 years old, so this machine is considerably faster, so maybe it won't take too long. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that to compile, we can talk about where we're going with this. So we've got Kamal, and as I'll bring up the documentation again just so we can see it. So Kamal is our tool here, and Kamal is intended to give you a pretty quick way to get a web application going. I mean, that's kind of go to their main page. That's what they say they're all about. And you can either deploy to bare metal or you can deploy from a cloud VM. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to use a cloud. We're going to use DigitalOcean and put a droplet there. A droplet is just DigitalOcean's name for essentially compute of some kind. So in Amazon, that would be EC2. Each vendor has their own name for what they call the service, but it's the most standard thing you can think of, an operating system that you can do stuff on. So we need to get a droplet going. We will get a DigitalOcean droplet going. I did create an account. It did require a credit card, so there was no way I was going to sign up live on stream because I wasn't about to input credit card information. But I should be able to log into DigitalOcean. We can walk through the dashboard together of creating a droplet. And we need to get as far as creating a droplet because we need a couple things. We need an IP address that we want to connect to. And then we probably need to do some SSH configuration so that Kamal can then reach out and connect to that droplet and do everything that it's required to do. So I kind of don't want to rush that if we can avoid it. I would rather get get Ruby installed here before that. And I don't know how long it's going to use. Well, it's going pretty quickly already. So I already did the make process, and now it's doing make install. So I'm hoping this will be done fairly quickly. So yeah. So where we want to go though is, I was thinking about this as like a two-phase process where we have Kamal is intended to work with Docker. And the idea is Kamal will build a Docker image from a Docker file you have, and it will, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. It's going to catch me in a minute. Okay, I think I'm through it. Kamal will make a Docker image, and then you can connect to a registry, which is what we did last time. We basically tried to get to Docker and get the registry going. And then it will push up whatever image you build to that registry. And then the second half of the Kamal process, though, is to connect to the machine where you want to install stuff. And that machine is going to issue some commands where it will set up Docker and do some kind of bootstrapping over there with Kamal setup, I think, is the command we want to use. Yep. And then once that bootstrapping is done, then when you do a Kamal deploy, basically the process is we build our image, push it to our registry, and then on the other side, it pulls from the registry, it creates a new container out of that image and restarts the app with that container. That's the core idea. We will have to update, and actually maybe now's a good time while Ruby is still going. Oh, it's done. Cool. Well, we'll get to this in a second then. So let's carry on here. Let's actually open a new tab just to make sure we can verify which Ruby we're running from. Nope, not that one. So clearly gotta do something here. Why did it do that? We installed Ruby. Warning, you have this, blah, blah, blah. ASDF reshim. I don't know. Which Ruby? Ooh, that's not right. Well, that was going to install it into the wrong place. So why are you doing that? Okay, let's look at, where do we go? Where do we go? Got my dot files over here. And if we do, we look here. Okay. Because I'm doing some shenanigans. I must have done the upload on this machine so it could replicate it. And what's happening is my ZSH is overriding. So it's trying to go, there's an ASDF plugins up here, right there. And that's trying to put ASDF at the beginning of the path, but then I'm overriding that with these export lines to put my own local installed Ruby there. So let's fix that, which is no doubt causing the problem. And come to the bottom. Just for now, we'll do this. In fact, let's go ahead and get rid of the alias as well. So this is how we were running Kamal last time, with an alias. So those two things, oh, get out of here, should, now that we've done that, we could open up a new terminal, move that over here, and say which Ruby, and we should ideally get the ASDF one now. Yeah, the shim. Okay, awesome. I'm going to move this to the side, and we don't need to see any other windows yet, so this is probably good enough. So we should also see, if we do which gem, we should also get the shim version of gem. So Kamal demo now knows, because it's got this tool versions file, it's looking for the Ruby 334, and when we hit the shim, the gem shim, it's going to look for the 334 and go into that spot. So when we do gem install Kamal, we're going to get the right Kamal version, and then it's going to put it in our proper gem directory here. So that shouldn't take too long. Installing some documentation, some stuff, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Now, I don't think that Kamal will be available yet. Oh, it is. Kamal shim. So if we do Kamal help, maybe we have everything we need already. Kamal help. Hey, look at that. All right. So I think we're ready to proceed. One step, though, that is going to be important is I did, last time we were having trouble with authorization, so I tried different personal keys on the Docker Hub registry. I created keys with different settings, and I created one, you know, thinking like maybe it was a permission, or like I didn't give enough authorization. I created a key that had way more permissions than I was comfortable with. It had the permission to delete stuff, and gone back and found out afterwards that I didn't need that. I could push the registry without that. So I deleted that key, but it means that this machine right now still has that key. So what we need to do, part of what Kamal has, I was about to do an ls on that file, that would have been pretty dumb, is there is an env file here. And I can't show you the content of the env file, but what I can show you, if we open, let's, I don't know which of these are going to be on path or not. So let's make another terminal and get rid of this one, open up nvim here, and if we go to the deploy file, you can see that Kamal is going to pull certain variables from certain environment variable names. And if we look up, I can't open this, but just it's a standard env file, which is a key value name with an equal sign separating things. So that's where the key is going to go. So I'm going to go find the real key value that we want to use for the registry, otherwise none of this is going to work, because we are going to be uploading images to Docker Hub this evening. So let me go over there and go back to, I can't show that page, so I'm going to go to my secrets page, and I'll keep talking to you for a minute. And so I'm refreshing my secrets page, and oh right, it's only accessible one time, so I put it in my password vault thing. I gotta go get out a key from there. Let's see. Let me get the value. and I'm going to copy it. Okay, so I've copied the value, and now I'm going into my env file, and I'm going to change. I'm going to put Kamal registry password and paste in the key that we have. And I got to get out of here though, otherwise you'll see my key stuff. Let me check my browser, make sure I'm not showing anything sensitive. Get rid of the Docker Hub thing, and I think all the rest of this is good. So I can bring all y'all back. All y'all, wow. Never said that before. Something that my wife will say on occasion, being a good Southerner, but I don't say. Bring all of you back. Okay. Where were we? So now I've got this proper key value set for the registry. And we should, although there's no changes, maybe we should make a change just to see we could do something. That might be a good start. Also, we're going to need Docker going. I restarted the machine. I had a heck of a time getting my internet going the way I needed it to this evening. So let's get Docker booted back up. That going there. And now that we've got that going, we should be able to make a change somewhere. And yeah, all of that goodness. So getting our requirements txt. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Getting a Docker file. So this is our Docker file. I don't know that I want to make a change yet. There's nothing. I got this. We pulled this from ChatGPT, which is why it's commented this way. It's a reasonable Docker file. It could be better. There's a bunch of things about it that are maybe not optimal, but it should work for now. So it's gonna be boring to like dig into this. I think I never really enjoy messing with Docker files. If you want to know something about Docker, let me know. But otherwise, it's not very exciting. So what we do need to do though, let's keep playing with Kamal. So we want Kamal help. And what I wasn't thrilled about with Kamal is that like it didn't seem like you could step things along very easily, or maybe that was just my experience with the Docker side. So I think what we want to do is try setup, but I don't know if it's ready for that or not, because there's accessories, there's things that are here. So I need to back up and talk about. We're going to add this to the bottom of our stack. Let's talk about databases, or accessories. Yeah, small accessories. Oh, too big. All right, it's gonna. If I hit a space bar, it's gonna go to the next line. Just gonna have to deal with that. So there's this notion in Kamal of an accessory. I'll bring up the configuration documentation so we can see it. Accessories are things that are specific to a host, and they're managed. The key part here is that they're managed separately from the main service. So like the classic example of an accessory is a database. We're going to have a database, but what I'm going to do with my database is I'm planning to use SQLite. And there's a bunch of reasons why I want to use SQLite, but I think it's going to go well for my use case. It's not a complicated data set, and I want to. Part of my goal that I talked about, and I leave it here, is I want simplicity. That's what we're aiming for with this. So we're trying to do SQLite. So I need to set up a place for the SQLite database to live, and because our apps are Docker containers, there's some matching that we have to do between the host operating system where the SQLite database file will live, because we absolutely want the database to live beyond the life of a container. Like, I don't know if you know about containers, you know that they start from an image and they create a process that's usually like that image is like, this is the starting point, and it brings that into memory. And it's its own mostly isolated thing. It's not perfectly isolated. If you want perfect isolation, containers may not be the right choice for you. But you kind of get your own version of a file system in there. You get a bunch of things. And so you can write data out if you wanted to, and write to certain files. But when that container goes away, the files that were in there would also go away. So if we started up our Django app and we had created the database within the container and then just let the container die, our database would die with it. So there's something you can do. It's called a volume mount. And the idea is you have a host operating system where like the real stuff is. It's funny that I would call it real because it's all virtual machines, but whatever. It's where your main stuff is, and then Docker is sitting on top of that. And so you can kind of wire the two together using a volume mount. And that's what we're gonna do with this accessory. So I want to come in here and I want to go into the deploy file. There's already an accessories section in here. They've called it DB. That's a reasonable name. Why not? So let's do this. Let's comment out these things. Call ours DB as well. But the thing that we need, more so than images and hosts and stuff, that's not really what I'm after. The thing that I think I need is a directory where our data is going to live. Because the nice part about SQLite is that there's no separate process that we have to have up and running, which I think is what this image kind of indicates here. It's like, if they're running with MySQL in this example, it's saying, connect over here, this is what you're gonna run, and then here's the data you're going to use down here. Because SQLite runs as a library inside of the process, really we just need to worry about where's the data gonna be stored. So what I wanna do is take these guys and have a name for it here. So we'll do, so the left-hand side here on the colon is the local directory. And actually, I don't know where, like see how this is a relative path? It's not starting with slash or something like that. I don't know where this data directory is gonna be stored. So that's one of the things I want to learn with this experimentation process of what are you doing with this? So that's our data side, and that can be the name of our database directory. That seems fine. Or maybe the B. The other thing I was thinking of is like maybe we should call this SQLite as the accessory, and then the directory as the database directory. It doesn't really matter. I'm trying to think of what I would like. But the other side of this is we need to then mount like a path that the container sees. So the host operating system sees one directory path. That's the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side is the path that then gets exposed to the container itself. So here, I think I want to say var db. Var is the path that I want to use because it's on the file system standards and stuff. Var kind of means variable data that is meant to vary. A database is absolutely one of those things that's meant to vary. So I think what I'm going to do, I'll leave a bunch of this stuff commented out for now, and then just to kind of give us reminders. But I think this is what we're going to need as our accessory. So don't know if this is the right format that I want this in, but it's a good start to play with. So we need an accessory. There's no secrets to this. It's going to connect directly to the file system. We don't need any authentication to connect to over a certain password. None of that's going to be necessary. I think you probably could encrypt it, or could password protect it, but why? So now we've got the registry. This is my registry account, MB Lehman here. And the other thing we're going to need to change is right here, is the actual server. So this server is a local network address. So this is not going anywhere. 192.168, yeah, it's just not going anywhere. So we need to get our droplet going to prepare the rest of this. So I think what we want to do, let's go ahead and say, that's probably good enough to commit. Add SQLite accessory. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Like, I'm the blind leading the blind here, just to be clear. Like my goal is to play with Kamal. I'm not some Kamal expert, but happy to talk through things and explore things and explain what I know about it so far. Okay, so now we need to go to DigitalOcean. So I signed up yesterday. I assume this deal would work for you. DigitalOcean has I searched for like DigitalOcean trial or something like that, and they've got 60-day $200 credit. So the credits will expire at that, so you don't get all the $200, but they're basically giving you plenty of space to try something for free for a couple of months. Because they know very astutely that if you actually build your app on it and then continue to run it there, moving from one vendor to another is pretty challenging. In fact, my intent, all right, we'll zoom out a little bit, forget about DigitalOcean for a second. My intent with all of this is, if this goes well, and I'm happy with what I see here, I want to do a cloud migration for my homeschool app. My homeschool app, it's called School Desk. We haven't done any work on it. Well, I've done periodic work off stream, but it has been quietly humming along and serving both my family and some other families that use it. And it sits on Heroku. It does Heroku, and it got all that stuff. And it's fine. It's fine there. Although I say that, I just had some downtime with it today. I got a bunch of Sentry issues saying that my database went down for some reason. It didn't tell me it was going down, but it just did. And so I would like to do a couple things. Again, we're coming back to that theme. I want simplicity. So I want to have a simple system. I'm also, there's some teeny cost savings by switching to DigitalOcean. It would be $6 a month versus $15. So maybe that means a lot to you somewhere. If you're not somewhere in the US, it's compared to, a US salary, that's not even gonna, $10, that's not gonna feed my family for a single meal. So it's not really a huge amount in the scheme of things that I should fret about, but saving that per month does kind of add up a little bit. So there's the simplicity of moving off of that using a single tool. There's also a speed benefit for my members. There's some queries that are okay on Postgres right now, but they do have like about a second response time or so. And that's just coming from what's reported by the application server. That's not really accounting for the perhaps network latency to wherever my customers are. So I would like to use SQLite because the database, all of those queries would be happening in process, which would take them from going from network latencies per query to the order of 10 milliseconds or so to per query is probably 100 microseconds, like a huge boon for performance. And the kind of data that I have for this particular app is going to work well with that. It's pretty well contained. Users aren't generating tons and tons and tons of data, so I don't need to worry about data volume. So SQLite's going to be a pretty good fit. So that's my objective. So I want to do a cloud migration from Heroku to DigitalOcean. But before I can do that, I need confidence that this is all going to work the way I want it to. So I signed up for DigitalOcean last night, and you can do the same if you want to follow along. You might even be able to use my demo repo if you wanted to, although you might have to push up to your own registry. I'm not sure how that would work. So let's go to DigitalOcean. I'm going to have to log in here, and so I'm going to do that in my secret mode for a second. I mean, I've got extra protections and stuff on there because this is, anytime I put in something that has my credit card, I add in all of the extra necessary goodies to make sure that people can't easily access my stuff. But I also don't want to be showing that off here as I'm talking to y'all. So let me punch out DigitalOcean, get in the two-factor mechanism here, make sure there's nothing sensitive to show on the other side, and then I can get y'all back to the screen here. So this is taking me to cloud.digitaloceans.com, and okay, so bring it back. So you can see I've got credits for the next 59 days. So truthfully, I literally signed up yesterday. I've done 0 credits. And so that's where we're at. What we need is a droplet. Now, I think there were a lot of options that when I was exposed to this initially and going through their kind of onboarding stuff, there's a ton that we're not going to cover. The goal is simplicity. I want to use as little of this service as possible because I want the whole web application experience to be about as brain dead as it can be. So set up a basic machine. So if you don't like DigitalOcean, fine, use one of the other ones. Like there's Hetzner, there's a bunch of VPS solutions that you can use that can probably suit your needs, and you can try it out that way. So we need a DigitalOcean Droplet, which again is a virtual machine, and we need, I don't know if we'll need there's a way to get like a reserved IP address. So I think the idea is you connect to a reserved IP address. Why might you do this? Eventually, I would have to bind an IP address to a DNS entry. And if I didn't use a reserved IP address, then if I needed to migrate machines, like maybe I have a new machine and I just want to move my stuff over, which is a plan I would want to do eventually, I can set up the other machine and then at some point take the reserved IP address and say, instead of pointing at this droplet, you point at that droplet. So you do a migration that way. The nice part is I wouldn't have to change my DNS stuff, so all of it would still work for my users as necessary. They would, and if something went wrong, I could just move the droplets back and forth. So we might set that up tonight. I don't know if maybe we don't need that level, since actually let's skip the reserved IP address stuff. We can think about that for cloud migration later for the homeschool app, the school desk. But for tonight, let's try and keep it as simple as can be. So we want to create a droplet. All right, I'm trying to keep this to do so people can see what's going on, but also be able to see everything that's relevant. Maybe if I put it back behind my head. There you go. Like a thought bubble, crappy thought bubble. Okay. So we want to pick a region. I selfishly want this to be fast for me on the East Coast, so I'm going to pick New York. That's how it's going to be, because I want it not far from where I live, because my wife is the primary user of this app, of the future app. And also for this demo tonight, I'm in Maryland, and New York is pretty close to Maryland. As far as data centers, I don't care, so I'll leave it at NYC1. It's probably their most used one, but fine. A VPC, a virtual private, I always forget what the C stands for. VPC, virtual private connection, virtual private cloud. Okay, so the network you're going to be on. I'm going to create a network space for us, for our network. So that's like, we could use that network and then have different droplets on the same network. And so they could talk to each other and share a network space. So that's probably done all with software-defined networking. And so that would be what the VPC is doing. Oh, it even tells us all resources created in this data center will be members of the same VPC network. They can communicate securely over their private IP addresses. So if we needed to if we were going to go a more traditional route and we wanted to set up one machine to be the compute, the actual droplet, and we took another droplet and put the database on it, like a MySQL or Postgres or something like that, and we wanted those two to talk to each other, they could use that IP address privately. Not really going to matter for us because we're going for a single device here. So we've got Ubuntu. We're going to use the latest LTS. We're going to use the x64. We can use a shared CPU. That's fine. None of this stuff matters a ton. I did do some research on regular versus premium Intel. And my research kind of indicated there wasn't a lot of difference, for at least for the kinds of performance stuff I'm doing with these basic cloud operations. So I'm going to pick the regular site for CPU disk options. The standard disk size, we want this little guy. We don't need $24 a month. We just need one CPU. And this will give us 25 gigabytes of solid state storage. I will eventually look up the database size for my database for homeschool, for school desk. I would be shocked if it's more than 100 megabytes, even after years of operation, because it's it's all text. There's no images. I don't have a lot of users, so 25 gigabytes should be more than enough for everything that we need to do. Let's see. Backups. Daily backups are ready for production use. However, it's currently only available on certain data centers. Well, I guess I must be on one of those data centers. We would want this. I'm going to tear down this droplet after we're done. So that's not important tonight, but I've been thinking about how would I do backups for databases. This is probably going to be the way. Again, trying to be as simple as humanly possible. And then we want an SSH key to connect, because I think that's what Kamal is going to want for this. So add a public SSH key. SSH keys are a more secure method of logging into an SSH server because they're not vulnerable to common brute force backward. Okay. So then we can, all right, it's been a while since I always forget the instructions for these. So let's open this. What? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So there's an SSH key has two parts. There's a private key that it's like a pair. There's a private key that will live on this machine right here. And then there is a public key that will drop the content here. The public key then allows me to, if I'm making an SSH connection, I'm trying to connect from this machine out to whatever the IP address for the droplet is. In that process of negotiating, can we connect? I will send something about my private key. It's not the private key itself. It's some kind of a nonce or I don't remember all the details of SSH, so if I'm getting this wrong, I'm sorry. But there's some kind of communication that happens back and forth. And the private key and the public key, they pair together. And through that negotiation process, they'll figure out, oh, this really is you being allowed here. So what's happening here is in this process of creating this droplet, we are taking a public key and the public half of the key pair, and we're going to put it in here. And so what DigitalOcean will do is they will take that and bake it into the virtual machine, so that immediately when I try to SSH to it, I can do that right away. So that's what we have to do. All right, SSH keys. Follow these instructions. You can put these blah, blah, blah. So we need to do SSH keygen. Might not be able to run this because it might display a bunch of stuff. So, or I'm going to run it, but I'm going to go to secret mode for a little while it runs. So let me get over to another terminal somewhere, clear this, do SSH keygen, and if it looks innocuous afterwards, then I'll show it. But let me switch over to secrets mode. I'm going to hit enter on this command, and it's saying generate a public private key. Tells me where do I want to put this, and it gives me a path. Oh, it says I already have a public key, so I'm not going to do this. Actually, maybe I've got one that I can leverage already. So we're going to bring back this, So I cleared that out. But what we need to do is get the public side. So it's putting this, the example here is showing ID RSA. We're using a different scheme, but we need a public version. And I don't think it's not going to be sensitive enough to tell you what kind of encryption scheme that I'm using. It's very, very strong crypto. So I should be able to do your command here. Where'd it go? Okay, so I should be able to do the following: cat, and then in the .ssh directory, and we want this ID ED2519 pub. That's our crypto algorithm used, and I'm going to put it in EB copy, so it's going to put it in my paste buffer. Okay, so now over here, I need to give it a value. I'm going to put this back on secrets because I don't, crypto is really secure, but like, I don't think there's any sense to, oh, well, it would have dropped in my email address. So definitely glad that I didn't put that visible to the whole internet. And then I have to go back through and edit this video. It'll be a pain in the butt. All right, so I'm putting a name on this, and I'm going to say the name of this public key is going to be my Mac Mini M1. This is my account. I'll know exactly what that is. I'm adding this SSH key, and now I can bring this back. Oops, hit the button, man. All right, so I've got a SSH key because it has the private key to go along with it. Should be there. We recommend adding these options. Add improved metrics monitoring. Well, that sounds cool. Let's see what that gives us. And then I don't want to worry about a database. Let's look at this briefly. Nope, I don't want IPv6 or initialization scripts. Not really interested in that. We want one of these droplets. The name is fine. I mean, I could edit this, but I don't want to, because it's a descriptive name. And then I don't think I need any tags. So, and we're gonna put this in first project. Probably could rename this or make a new project in the future, but let's just start from there. So it's creating our droplet. I don't know how long that's going to take, but when it's done, we should have an IP address that's usable. Oh, cool. Sweet. So let's try to SSH directly to it. Make sure we can do that. So if the keys are working properly, I could do this. It's probably going to say, "Are you sure you want to trust this?" Because it's not in my known host file. So the authenticity can't be established with the fingerprint. So we want to continue connecting because we just set this up. The fact that we got in knows that it's like the droplet I made. Oops. Boo. Boo. Didn't work. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? I said yes. Huh. Okay. Well, maybe we need to make a new and different public key. Oh, that public key that I have is for GitHub, I'm sure. So I can't just overwrite that public key. Well, that's disappointing. Let's go. All right. I guess the only course of action here is we try again. Why did it do that? Oh, maybe it's the user. Maybe anybody. Ooh. Hey, okay. So I understand now. So we got the key just fine. But there's no mat user on this droplet. That was brand new. So unsurprisingly, it said, like, I don't know who you are, so get the heck out of here. So we use the root key here to get in. So we are now, as we're logged in as root, and we're at probably at the root of the operating system. Where are we? Yeah, we're in the root directory. We are the root user. Kind of a dangerous thing to be. We don't want to do this very often, but it's showing that we can connect here. And so I think that Kamal is going to use the root user and install stuff. So we should be good to go. All right, so we have that IP address. So now let's go back to our deploy config and change the server. Okay. So that's done. I'm trying to think of what's next that we need to do. It might just be as simple as, scare quotes, running Kamal setup. So let's go back to installation. So we have our Kamal stuff installed. We've got an image. We've got the registry set up. There are no secrets yet. We're not really running anything secretive. And we can let's try running Kamal setup, see what it'll do. So in theory, they're saying that it'll do this stuff. I don't know. I expect that we'll have something blow up in our face. So let's see. I don't know that we want to add. I'm going to throw away this droplet, so I don't know that I want to commit this. Maybe I will, but start with this Kamal. Make sure it's still the right Kamal. Nope, wrong one. All right, so that wasn't it. Is this the right one? Which Kamal? I was about to be shocked or confused for a moment. So let's try Kamal setup. See what happens. Oh, okay. Specify. Oh, we didn't tell it where to put the accessory. So that makes sense. So you need to say which host it's on. And you can do that in a handful of ways. So you can say specific host, or you can say hosts, or you can go by role. The role idea is like you can, in this file up here, in your server section, I think you can make different roles. So if let's say you had a web role and a database role, then you could do that. Or maybe I don't want to input the IP address multiple times. Maybe I want to use one layer of indirection to get the name that I want. So actually, let's see if we can set up the role quickly. And so we want a role called web. So let's do that. So under servers, they kind of nest this in that way. We can put web. Let's do web. Nope. And then like so. So now we have a web role, and that's going to be our whole app. And then I think what we can do, go back to the accessories, and we can say roles web. If you wanted to apply this to multiple, like an accessory for multiple things, you could. We're going to come down here and say roles web. Okay. Let's try it again. So I've never seen this before, so we're going to go through this together, see what it's actually doing. So it looks like it's trying to add. So for context, remember, we're going to be running Docker containers on the remote droplet. And so this is the first time it's going through this. So it says, hey, you don't even have Docker, so we can't do anything. All right, cool. We'll get to that failure in a second. We can't do anything, so we need to get Docker going so that we can like start pulling down images and get everything that's going. So that's that piece of the setup. let's go through this a piece at a time. It's the first thing it does is puts a .kamal directory. Now I'm curious, this has got to be going in there as root, right? So where is it putting all this stuff on as root? That seems like crazy town to me, but maybe it is. We're learning. So SSH back to root. Now, I bet it's right in the root directory. There's the, okay. So there is a, so it's starting to populate stuff, but it's using the root directory for all this. This is probably a bad idea. There's probably a way to remove, well, maybe it's not bad for the setup, but it's questionable on the actual like long-term execution. I think it's recommended not to run as root for containers and things because it opens up to the possibility that somebody abuses that container. I don't know how, I don't know, I'm not up on all of the Docker security stuff, but I know that it's generally recommended that you don't let your container run as root because it could lead to bad things for your host potentially. But while we're here, let's take a quick peek around. So a bunch of these files were maybe new, although I bet this cache directory is new. No, maybe not. I didn't think to do this before, so that's a shame. So we've got Docker. I don't know if I can look at that config or if it's going to have some secret. Let me put on the secrets for a minute. Whoops. Come on. And then I'm looking at the Docker config JSON. And yeah, I have no idea if this auth is an actual, like, it's probably some kind of hash, but I don't think I need to show it. So there was a config there. There is the .kamal directory. There's a box directory and a log. So let's look at Kamal log. Pushed env files, booted the SQLite accessory. Okay. What's in the env directory? Roles. Oh, interesting. All right, let me. I don't think there's any secrets that we pushed out here, although it might have a registry. I bet it's got the registry. So let me take a. I'm going to look at this one, and just to be able to talk you through what is actually in here, so you get a notion of what they're putting in there. So actually, that file is empty. So that's interesting. Traffic. There's a roles, there's a environment traffic directory. The traffic environment is empty. And then there's an accessories directory. And that's also empty. So far, nothing is in any of these three files. Okay. Kamal also had the locks directory, but I don't think it's, I think that's for doing deploys. There's nothing in there right now. And then, what is, so this Kamal demo SQLite, that's the name of our accessory, I think. Okay, so it creates that for the accessory, and then it creates the DB directory as the location where we could then have that B volume mounted. All right, so cool. I feel like I've got a reasonable understanding of this. I want to understand in the future. Let's see. Let's go back to the README, or keep the README up. I forgot to continue reporting my experience, but that's okay. We did that last time. Like a question. What's up with the permissions on directories? What should be root owned versus not. Okay. So this has been informative so far. Now let's dig a little deeper in here. So, and it probably told us what it was making. So it made the Kamal directory, made the locks directory. Acquiring, so it probably put a lock file in there when it did that. And then it's checking that Docker is installed. So Docker, so it tried to run the version, said like, I can't do that. So then it's doing some user ID shenanigans here. And then escalating privileges, I guess. And notice that it's missing Docker. So it did a curl, and that took 30 seconds to get Docker. So is Docker available now? It is. Cool. And if we did Docker version, there we go. Okay, so Docker was installed successfully. That's cool. And then it's coming back and trying to run. I don't know why it tries to do this again. Like, is it going to do that every time? Try and make the Kamal directory every time? I don't know. Evaluate and push the env files. There's no, so you can template the env file creation if you wanted to. We're not doing that. We're using a straight env file for now. And it's then making different env directories for these things and copying the env file there. Finally, it's making the accessory directory for the SQLite accessory. And it did log in, or did attempt to log in. What's hiding under here? So tried to run Kamal demo SQLite, detach, blah, blah, blah. env file is using that one. Oh, here's the volume mount that I was talking about earlier. So taking the current working directory, Kamal SQL demolite db, and mapping it as var db. Releasing. Okay, there's an exception while executing Docker. Docker standard out, nothing written. Trying to see. Docker run requires at least one argument. What? It looks like we gave all. We gave what? There's a Docker run. It didn't provide an image. That's kind of weird. But why didn't it provide an image? We've got the image named here. MB Layman Kamal demo. Maybe the Oh, I messed up the image name. That's why. I'm supposed to use a colon. I use a slash. Like, what are you talking about? I think that one might be it. Well, that's a silly mistake. If I go to Docker Hub and look at like how you're supposed to reference different images, it'll say colon. No, it doesn't. That's for the tag. All right, so Huh. What's going on? The Docker image to use. Prefix with a registry if not using Docker Hub. If not using Docker Hub. I am using Docker Hub, so maybe we can ditch that and then hold on. Service name. So the image, we just put the image there. Like this. Small demo. That's the image that we definitely created. I wouldn't think that that would matter because I did successfully use Kamal build push to actually push up an image. So I think the prefixing should not really matter. Try running it again, see what happens. Docker run, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. Where's the image name? I mean, that's what's definitely missing. I should see Docker run, a bunch of stuff, and then Kamal demo. See the service name that they gave it. All right. Let's take this and search the Kamal repo for this. Nope. Well, take out the quotes maybe, if that's constraining the query too much. Nope. Well, that's a weird one. We're gonna get stuck in a hurry if we can't figure this one out. I mean, push comes to shove, we could dig into the Ruby code and figure out what the heck it's supposed to be doing and determine why it's not doing that. So it's definitely trying to run Docker run. Which Kamal? Where is this? So this is going to be in ASDF. So let's get off the server. Let's go over here. Actually, let's start up a new one because I don't know what's in process or not. Let's go into the ASDF directory. And there should be, oh shoot, installs, I guess. Yep, Ruby. Okay. Now in here, I think it's in lib Ruby. Oh boy. This is where I don't know Ruby structure very much. We're kind of guessing. But it's most likely on track. Oh, come on. Layers and layers here. Gems. And I want Kamal. Okay. So from here, let's look for, let's start with run, see if it comes up. Run. What am I doing? Gonna get better searches here. Docker run. Oh. I think I see. Oh man, really? Okay, I get it. We did not set up. Okay, I get it. We didn't set up at the accessory. So look what's happening on this. We're still, yeah. All of this input. So I thought we were running into a spot where it was trying to run our service, but it hadn't even gotten that far yet. What it's trying to do is saying, hey, let me run your accessory. That's not what I want. Because again, I was trying to like say, I'm not running an accessory. I'm just running I just need a directory. So maybe this was wrong to use an accessory. Maybe there's a different way to just create a directory that we need that will mount into the volume or do a volume mount for us later. Shoot. What does Google have to say on this? Kamal, SQLite, accessory. Somebody done this? Kamal directory. Somebody's tried this. Oh, somebody made a whole website here. Oh, they just have a straight up volumes. Interesting. But then, If we have a volumes, do we have to make that directory? Or is it going to make it for us? Guess we'll find out. So, let's disable this for a moment. Let's go to the volumes documentation. I bet it's somewhere. Volumes. Well, it claims it's an accessory. Volumes. Any other volumes to mount in addition to the files and directories. They are not created or copied before mounting. Well, but also look at, I mean, they've done this like nesting thing here, which again leads me to think that this is part of an accessory. So there's something else. Either this code example is a lie, but I don't have necessarily any reason to believe that. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Either not documented or something along those lines. I don't know. So let's do volumes. And I think that was just the standard volume syntax, right? Yep. So give a key of what did I say? DB? DB var DB. And let's do Kamal setup from here. Okay, we got farther. Let's let that run for a minute. I want to see if there's any volume stuff here. This is a question of, great, maybe this actually does do a volume mount, but to what? Is it going to do a volume mount to a directory that doesn't exist? I think so. And if so, how do we create that? It's getting the image right now. Let's review what's here. Okay, building from a local git clone, so ignoring these changes. Oh, it's building a whole new image. That's part of the setup? That's odd. I guess. Maybe that makes sense. So we got through Docker. We got through the env file setup. It's not considering any env stuff for that accessory anymore because we got rid of it. The log, see what I don't get is why is it coming into the remote side is logging in, I guess, to, or both sides, the local host and the remote are logging into the image registry. Probably like to set up kind of a bridge mentality of we'll both be there, and when I push up my image, then you can pull it back down. So now it wants to build the app image. It can do that on localhost. That's where it's running right now. It's going to push up this unique tag, I guess. So we're going through doing some Git stuff, Git setup, which we saw last week. Does a gets all the submodules, then it does a check that there's nothing left, saying we're not going to use those files because they aren't committed. So it's kind of giving us a warning there. And then there's a build X. I don't know what the inspect does actually. But then it does the actual build. So we're getting that build, going through the process here of getting the actual Python image. Now we're going through our stuff here towards later on, creating the working app directory, copying the requirements, doing the install, yada yada yada. Cool. So far so good. There is an export of the image, I guess. Oh, boo. And it failed. That's infuriating. Why did you fail after all that? Oh, because this side wasn't logged in. It should have been. Kamal, help. There was a command we used last time, but I did get a successful push here. And it's Kamal. Oh, Kamal. Why is it going slowly? Registry. Why is it not getting all my keyboard inputs? What in the world is going on? Registry. Log out. All registry. We saw it log in though. Really confused. Kamal setup. How can you fail to push when you logged in successfully? And well, now it's saying library Kamal demo. That's not right. Okay, I'm going to go back to my image name being MB Layman Kamal demo. So maybe it was failing to push. Okay. Let's try this. I'm going to go commit this stuff too. Make Kamal Fig updates. Now, Kamal setup. All of this is in service of trying to get something running over on the other side, I think. Okay, that was the problem. It was trying to push to library rather than fail because it, I don't know, that was strange. Why did it pick that as the default name? Library? Whoops. Library? Don't know where it got that from. So this image is going to take a little bit because my upload speed is not great. The image is not huge. It's like 50 megabytes. So but it's going to take a little time. The fact that it hasn't failed, though, tells me that it is doing the right thing. So I'm curious what's going to happen after this. This is the localhost half of this, of the build and push the app image. And then it's going to be really interesting to see the other side actually take that app image, pull it down, and do something with it. That's going to be very interesting. Still puzzled about volumes. Let's go, while that's finishing pushing, let's look over here and look for volumes and see if we can find it in multiple places. So in the config, the volume args. Okay. So there's this volume args thing. See where that's used. It does get used in the actual execution. I don't know why that's not documented. So there's volume args in the accessories, but that's a different thing. So it could be let's see. If using the top level volumes key, where can we create volume host directory? All right, cool. We have some stuff here, more. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Good, good. That is what I expected, frankly. Cool. I'm liking it. So it tried to actually run the container, but I knew the container was garbage. I was just setting something, and I knew it wasn't going to run anything at all because we didn't actually build any kind of Django app. So unsurprising that it failed, but it's cool to see. So how did it finish? It finished by creating the image, uploading it. So that took 1.5 minutes on this garbage connection. And then it removed it locally. Oh, no. Oh, I see. Okay. Got to pay attention to these, who's doing what at the end of these lines. That's where it gets interesting. So this stuff, this execution happened on localhost. Matt at localhost. Later on, after it finishes uploading, then it switches to the droplet and tries to make sure that there is no like previous version of that image. That's smart in case you like did a bad tag or something like that. Then it does a pull of that image. You can see just how different DigitalOcean has a much better connection to the internet than I do. So it took 95 seconds to upload this thing and 5 seconds to pull it down. Okay. There's an asymmetry there. It's unfortunate. If I'm going to be working on school desk and doing deploys, that will mean that I would, because I don't imagine that my internet connection quality is going to be changing. It means that I'm going to be dealing with like at least that long for deployment time if I did it during stream or something. Okay, that's a reality. Docker inspect config label service grep Kamal demo echo image is missing the service label. Are we supposed to label it? The label do. What are labels for? Okay, and F label. Labels. Okay, I don't know. Got a thing over here. What is the benefit of a Docker label? Okay, just custom metadata that we could use in some other context. But it seems like we've got it. It says you don't have it, that's fine. All right, so then it goes to traffic. So traffic, if you weren't from the stream on the stream last time, is a proxy that is sitting in front of your app container. So the reason it exists is kind of like Nginx, but it has an ability to do a zero downtime deployment. So the topology of what you're deploying is you've got the traffic web server is actually the thing that's listening on the main port for your host, and it's going to be listening for the incoming requests. Want to say they're doing stuff in the future that could have it do like Let's Encrypt and a bunch of other cool stuff. I don't know what options are available right now. I don't think a lot necessarily at the moment. So it's telling you where it's going to listen, and Kamal is then going to wire up the host port with traffic for all that sort of stuff, and so on and so forth. Don't know how SSH or excuse me TLS works in that regard. That's something we'll have to figure out in the future. Certainly seems to be over port 80 to start. So anyway, we get traffic pulled and then started. So it's starting traffic, it's running traffic in a detached state, it's mounting port 80 to port 80, it's setting some volume stuff, it's setting a label, different labels that the traffic image must be using. And that is going. Excuse me. All right, if we go back to the host, let's go back to here. So now we're on here. If we do a Docker PS, we've got that traffic server running. In fact, well, I don't know what it's going to do. If we try and hit this IP address, so the IP address is right here, 165. We hit this at, what is it going to do? So HTTP is we're on port 80 and hit the IP address directly. Okay, this is telling though. So we got a bad gateway. That's a 502, yep. But it means that our droplet is running. The traffic server is running. What I don't know is where are the logs for that. So actually, we'll review the rest of the stuff in a minute. Let's look for logs. Actually, no, I want to leave that kind of pristine so we're not sifting through too many logs. Over here, which Ruby? Is this still an old one? Yep. Okay. Kamal help. There's probably some kind of logs command. Show audit log from servers. That's interesting. There's an app command to manage the application, so that's something we could explore. I want to, like, I gotta believe that there's ways that you can manage your server without having to SSH in there and poke at stuff. I'm pretty sure they don't want you doing that, or I wouldn't want to do that. Looking through the list of commands, all server. Okay, let's try Kamal help. Oh my word. Never going to be able to spell traffic right. Kamal traffic logs. Kamal traffic logs. Okay, so there's those bad gateway calls. Don't know where this is coming from. Yeah, I wish they sort of said it's this file. But I bet we could find this file. Let's keep poking. None of this should be magic. So if we go into the Kamal directory, now we have chords. What is that? Oh, I remember the chords was for, yeah, for something else. Well, where'd it go? There's the demo log. That's the audit log. So if we did that audit command, I think that's what we'd see. Let's see what's in the environment. Traffic? Nope, that's just the traffic environment. Variables. Well, are you in var log? I don't know. Let's take a look at the Docker command. Maybe it was telling us where the logs are going to go. And I wasn't paying attention. There it is. Nope, that's the environment file. Could be... Well, I don't think it's that either. Well, goodness, they've kind of hidden it here. What do we know we were looking for? We're looking for 502 bad gateway. So maybe we search for that. Probably, do we have grep on here? Grep. Yep. Let's do a recursive grep. And we want to search for, oh man, it's been the pattern. Yeah, pattern. So options. I normally use rip grep, so that's why I'm a little off here. So here's our pattern. We want to search for 502. Well, let's just search for 502 bad. I think that's enough. 502 bad should find something. And we want to find here. Wow. Not in the Kamal directory. Well, that's interesting. Is it in memory? Maybe. Maybe it's only keeping a very short amount of logs and not actually persisting it somewhere. Well, let's see. Traffic. So this is a traffic file. Reboot. Where are logs? Follow logs. Primary host. Grep options. There it is. Run over SSH pipe Docker logs command. Okay, so it is pulling it. So Docker is managing the logs, I guess. Docker logs. Oh. Fetch the logs of a container. Well, that's cool. So where does Docker keep logs? Is it just in memory too? Where does Docker store container logs? var lib docker. Var, was it lib? Yep. Lib docker. Containers. Oh, wow. Okay. A container ID. So it's one of these. And then a log. Okay, so that was the other one. That's the image that failed. So var lib docker containers 5D. This should be the traffic. Cool. Okay. That's news to me. And then I presume there's some amount of, I know that when I use Docker Compose that it limits the amount of the log file size. So there's probably some rotation that's happening automatically there. That's cool that you don't really have to worry about logging in that way. Okay, let's move on though. So we've got traffic running. We can see logs from traffic if we want. And then it goes to this point where it's detecting stale containers. So maybe stale containers are like my container that didn't survive the health check, actually do anything? Or is it just stale container with version E9284? Is that what we deployed? Yeah, E9284 was our image. Oh, it didn't say stale, it said start, Matt. Gotta read. So it's detecting stale containers and it's doing a list, checking can't quite tell what this is doing exactly, but I'm sure it's doing some kind of cleanup. Then we move into starting our actual app container. Now it says it's using a 7-second readiness delay. The reason for that is because we did not define a health check. So it recommends that your app basically be able to report on itself when it's started up. Go to health checks. What it'll see is like, hey, on roles that are running traffic, which is our web container stuff, so the default is whatever the web is going to do that. It'll do a health check with Docker run. If no health check is supplied, it'll just wait around. and then pause until it's ready. So that's what happened. And you can set that, I think it'll say somewhere in here, 7 is the default, how long it'll wait. What I don't understand is you can put a port for the health check, like a different port. And I don't know, how does that bind to multiple things? That's unclear to me. So ideally, we'll want to have a health check on the app to be able to say it's up and running and not just wait for it to be up and running. That gives, what that should do in the deployment process is, in the zero deploy process, the old app will be up and running and giving a health check and saying like, I got this, I'm okay to serve traffic. When you do the deploy and you're ready to switch to the new version is going to start up the container, and it's not going to be ready yet. It's like in a closed state. And at some point, it'll be ready. And when it's ready, there's the health check is going to be pinging it periodically to be like, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? And eventually you'll say, yeah, I am ready. And so at that point, you'll have 2 services that are up and running. And I think traffic is going to start running actual requests over to the new service. Once that's done, this one over here, that's what that cord, we saw that cord file somewhere on the server. It was in some directory, in the Kamal directory, I think. Yeah, that chords directory. I don't know much about this, but my understanding is that the chords directory, there's like a file that you can configure something that's connected to traffic to, that if it detects this file, it can essentially override the health check and say like, nope, even though this thing is saying it's healthy, we're going to take it down, which is a very sensible approach to saying time to move over to the next thing. So it's like a proactive kind of kill step for the old container. So process is the old one's running, it's happy. The new one starts up, it's not happy. The new one comes up, becomes happy. Traffic is connected to the new one, it starts receiving stuff. Once it's receiving traffic, like real requests, it's confusing because the thing is called traffic. Then this thing gets a signal with that cord, which will then shut it down and go away. I think that's the process. Okay, but we never got that far. We didn't get that far because we don't have a working image. Our image is garbage. So let's see, what is it doing? It's doing a PS. It's listing our image. And it's looking for, I think it's looking for something that's running and not restarting. So I don't think it comes, I think this is the secret for how it does the health check stuff. Let's look. Well, we're not going to see a health check actually, because we didn't configure one. So never mind, let's not look for that. Then Kamal creates that cord file. I'm guessing that's where traffic engages. Docker run. Here's where our oh, it's creating a, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about chords. There's a big long command here. These are hard to see. That is starting up traffic. Is that right? Restart unless stopped. On this host name, Kamal container. Run this, Kamal version, run that. This web file. The health command is localhost up 3000 up or exit. We don't have. It's going to exit. Health interval 1 second. Yeah, that's weird. I did not configure the health check, so I don't know why I would even try. I'm curious. I'm puzzled on how to make Django bind to multiple ports. That's going to be interesting. Maybe Rails has that ability of like binding to multiple ports. Normally, I think of like a process comes up and takes one port, and to have a process on a different port is very interesting to me. Or maybe Rails is default. Could be that Rails defaults to port 3000 for everything. When Ruby on Rails runs, what port does it use by default? Port 3000. Okay. Not crazy. That's just the default that they set it up on. So Django runs on port 8000 when it's running the dev server? I don't remember. Docker file. We're telling it to run on port 8000 in this case, but there's I'm sure we could go to one of the projects that we have. Let's do this one and turn on the virtual environment and do manage run server H, and it'll tell us what it's going to run on somewhere. Surely it will. No way. All right, I'm wrong. Run server. Yeah, 8000. Okay. So when we set up our health check, we'll just need to say it's going to run on port 8000 instead of 3000. I don't know why the port is significant there, frankly. Like, it's confusing to me. Whatever. Okay, so we will have that at some point. And maybe because there was no health check, it just said, forget it. And then we get down here, and it's trying to wait for the health status to come up, but it's not coming up. Eventually it says like, nope, you're not unhealthy, and you failed. So we're done. Okay. That was lengthy, but I feel like I'm walking away with a much better understanding of what Kamal does. Still don't have a good handle on where that volume mount goes. Actually, let's take one quick peek, see if we can see it in here somewhere. There should be volumes listed. There it is. Volume db var db. So we might want to get quite explicit about that, and then you might have to create it. There are some hook files that you can use, and one of those hooks, where are they? So the hooks are like little scripts that can run for different phases. And so this Docker setup is probably the one we want. Run once Docker is installed on the server before taking any application-specific actions. Designed for performing any necessary. Well, that's okay. That's not the one. Runs before taking the deploy lock. Reconnect. For anything that needs to run before connecting to remote hosts. Used for pre-build check Pre-deploy for final checks before deploying. I mean, I guess we could use a pre-deploy. So, okay, this is the first time we could use a little pre-deploy script that makes sure that the database directory exists. Really simple. Because I think that I committed this, I used the template that Kamal provides for like Kamal init. We already have a bunch of hooks. So there is a pre-deploy sample. We'd have to rename this. That's why I didn't run. Theirs is a Ruby file, but we could run a little bash script basically. And instead of using Ruby, it'd be hashbang bin bash. And then we'd say makedir. Oh, I always forget the makedir option that will make sure that P. Man makedir. I think with the -p, it will do it whether or not it exists. So this would give us our database, and then as long as it happens before the deploy for the Django app for the first time, we could run. That might be where we run our. Well, where do we run our like migration stuff? That's interesting. Let's see, migrate in here. What's the what is the Ruby on Rails command to migrate the database? Break something? Break db migrate. Rails db migrate. db migrate. So there's no example in here, so I don't know where migrate runs. And that's going to be critical. Like, and the best place might be pre-deploy. Like it has to, you have to run it before you can deploy the app instance. So we might be doing two things. We might be doing, make sure the directory exists, and that's going to be a one-time operation. That's annoying, but it's going to run always, even if it's already existing, which is kind of silly. I guess we could put it in the Docker setup if we wanted to, but sort of abusing that hook. Rebuild. Yeah, this is like, because these things also, I bet will also like run on localhost. Oh goodness, which I don't want. Okay. Well, we can explore that later. Hook's file name must be the hook name without any extension. Okay, so we can't do a prebuild.sh or .rb. All right, I think that's where I want to wrap it for the evening. Seen a lot with Kamal this evening. I will, at this point, we don't need this server. So this has served its purpose. In fact, I'm not even convinced. Well, we might want to go so far as getting an actual working Django app and seeing that running. So getting the health check up, proving that it is before we embark on a project with SchoolDesk to do the migration. Alternatively, I could say, nah, let's just make it, let's just try and do it. Yeah, let's just try and do it with SchoolDesk. Let's do something like a productive towards a SaaS app that will get us on that path. The path overall would be make sure that we can deploy SchoolDesk in a SQLite configuration onto a droplet. That will be tricky because there's a bunch of environment variables that we'll have to fill in. So that'll be a process, and that's why I hesitate about, like, is it easier to do a sample app, or is it better to just jump right to the app itself? It's going to be a little bit more complex, but no matter what, we're going to have to experience that. But maybe I haven't learned enough yet because we haven't truly seen the app operate. So I think that leads me to, okay, maybe we should stick with the Kamal demo long enough to prove to ourselves that this thing can work. So next time we will carry on with this. We will pick it up, because if we go the school desk route, we're going to have to make Docker files. We're going to have to do a bunch of stuff. So we'll keep going with this. I'm at a pretty fairly happy state with it. I've got 2 free months of DigitalOcean, so I can just leave the droplet running. It's not hurting anything. Update README, and then we'll just carry on from here. So we'll make this small demo work with a Django app, and I'm not looking for a serious app here. It's going to be enough we'll probably want a hello world route for the main thing, and then one kind of up route for the health check. Then we'll code in that, hopefully see everything go, do a couple deploys, watch it go back and forth, do its thing, and I think that'll be a good place to be like, yes, we feel good about Kamal and what it's doing, and that it's going to be a viable tool to work for school desk. I think that would give us enough I guess we need to play also with SQLite, so we will have to do that. We'll make one little database table. We'll use some SQLite. We'll integrate some migration stuff, learn about how all that works, and then call that success. So hopefully that was instructive to you. It was useful for me to see. Thanks for tuning in. If you could leave me a like, that would be greatly appreciated. And I will catch you all next time. Take care.